Welcome to the Soul Mirror. I'm your host, Shreya, the space where we reflect, release, and reclaim the parts of ourselves we have been carrying for far too long. Today, we are joined by Jack Sohair, a life and wellness coach whose journey from burnout, loss, and identity collapsed the embodied freedom and has become a guidepost for countless women. Her work slices through the noise of endless self improvement and exposes a truth many avoid. Sometimes healing becomes its own trap, and sometimes starting over is not breakdown, it's homecoming. Let's step into the raw, courageous terrain together. Welcome, Jax. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And also, you have powerfully, you speak powerfully about the healing trap. What does that cycle look like from the inside for someone who does not yet realize that they are stuck in?
Well, the healing trap is when you are in a constant state of doing. So you're you're doing all the things that you would think would help you heal, like, you know, journaling and meditating and getting your 10K steps in, and it's just all these things that you're adding to your to-do list, when in actuality, healing is about removing those things and learning who you are and reconnecting with who you are without having to do adding all these things to your to-do list.
Yes. And at what point does healing stop being expansion and start becoming avoidance?
I think doing all the things and not being grounded and finding the connection with yourself. So Um, I did that for a long time where I was trying to heal. I was on my healing journey and I thought I was doing all the things, therapy, um, EFT work, journaling, all the things, but nothing. I was feeling still empty inside. And so I realized first there's some honesty you need to have with yourself and to learn um when it's not working, to be more aware of when it's not working, and I think that's the healing trap of putting too much on your plate and not getting anything out of it, like feeling empty inside still.
Yes, I think many listeners might recognize themselves here, chasing transformation but avoiding the very life they want to lead. Thank you for sharing this. And also, your own unraveling become a turning point. What was the moment that made you realize it was time to start over instead of trying to patch things up?
Um, by the time I knew that it was time to start over, I was a shell of a human. I was completely disconnected from myself. I I didn't recognize myself anymore. I didn't know who I was. The things that used to fulfill me no longer fulfilled me. And that's when I realized whatever I was doing at that time to try to heal wasn't working. And I think I really started getting very honest with myself. I think deep down I knew what I needed to do, but I wasn't ready to do it until that moment when I just kept doing all these healing things and nothing was happening. That's when I realized, okay, this isn't working. What do I need to do now to move forward? And I got really honest with myself. And the turning point was when I finally left the restaurant industry. I had been in it for 20 years and my whole identity was part of the restaurant industry. I let it define me. And I think that I couldn't move forward until I removed myself from that environment, from that toxic environment.
Yes. And how did you navigate the fear of letting go of an identity that once felt comfortable, even if painful.
Yeah, I think my situation at that point was it was harder to stay where I was in that situation than it was to take a leap of faith and not know where I was going, like a leap of faith into the unknown. And I think that is the biggest turning point for a lot of people. Everybody wants to change, but unless you're actually sick of your current situation and moving towards something that's scary and uncomfortable, it change won't happen until you're ready to step into that. And I think that's when I was finally ready to make that leap. And it was very uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was going to do as far as career. You know, I still had to pay my mortgage, and leaving the industry was definitely scary, but it would have been worse if I stayed.
Yes. And I think these stories make starting over feel less like a failure and more like a reclamation. And also, you work with women rebuilding trust in themselves. What is the first indicator that someone is slowly regaining that trust, like that self trust?
The first indicator, when you don't have to overthink or second guess yourself. When you make that first decision where you know in your heart and like you're following your intuition and you feel confident about it, that's when you know like your self-trust is coming back. When you don't have to overthink or second guess or um just get anxious about a decision that you're making. But like in your heart you believe in yourself and you know what's right, and that decision comes easily to you.
And also, how do you help them strengthen it without slipping back into perfectionism disguised as growth?
Yeah, that is definitely something that you have to work at every day. It's something that you have to wake up, and that thought has to renew every day because we're going to easily go back to our old patterns. Our old identities, we've been living them for years and years. And you're rewiring your brain, you're retraining yourself, and that's going to easily happen to go back into old patterns. And I think when you wake up every day with the thought, okay, how am I going to show up today? How do I want to step into the person I want to become? I think it gets easier. And I also think that if you do slip back into perfectionism, um, being self-aware and just recognizing it is huge, and giving yourself some self-compassion that, you made you slip back into old patterns, but that's okay. You could, you know, we're all learning and growing, and those are learning experiences, and they shouldn't be shamed upon. They should be realized as it's part of the transformation.
Yes. I think this distinction feels very crucial and it invites listeners to tread pressure for presence. And also, in your program, Wildly Free, you emphasize embodied living. What shifts when someone stops obsessing over healing and actually starts living?
Embodied embodied living to me is when my mind, my body, and my choices are aligned. Embodied living is not trying to be perfect, but to try to be present and recognizing, like, I struggled with burnout, and recognizing, like, feeling in your body, the sensations of feeling out of alignment. So recognizing when you might be going into burnout or stress, or you can like feel it in your body, and you can listen to your body and get back to living in an alignment. And that's what embodied living really is.
Yes. And also, is there a daily practice or mindset that helps anchor this embodied approach?
Yeah, there's several different practices that I use. You know, I love Mel Robbins, and she has the high five habit that I do every day. But I think it depends on the person, and you have to find whatever works for you. Mantras, affirmations, breathing techniques just to get back into your body. Um, and I do that daily throughout the day. Those little small windows where you just take a couple minutes to reconnect with yourself. Um, we're so busy and we're constantly go, go, go. Our lifestyles are like fast paced. And so these little tiny moments are the things that help you stay in alignment and stay embodied. Um, instead of some big like transformative thing. It could just be a very small baby steps every day that is less than a 2-minute exercise, whether it's breathing or affirmations or listening to a podcast or a song, or doing like a mindful meditation, guided meditation. Yeah, there's so many great ways to connect and be embodied. It's great that we have so many now. So I guess it just depends on someone's preference on what they like. I think that's the most important, because you don't want to feel like you're um, doing things to just add them to your list. You want to do them because they mean something and you get something out of them.
Yes. I think this gives people permission to stop overworking their inner world and start participating in their outer world. And also, starting over can feel both liberating and also disoriented. What do you say to someone who knows they need a fresh start but feels guilty, confused, or unworthy of it?
Oh, I think that all of us deserve to live beautiful, fulfilled lives. I think that it's never too late. You can be any age. I think that starting over is something that you don't know what's on the other side. It could be better than you ever imagined. And not to shame yourself and to embrace it. It's part of growth, and um you know, fully living your life. And yeah, just be brave enough to stop living the version of yourself that's hurting you.
And this is so beautiful, the way you said it. And also, how does someone begin again without making it a dramatic reinvention, but rather a grounded return to themselves?
I think small baby steps, small promises that you can make to yourself. Even if it's something that, takes 1 minute in the morning. Like I have a client, she just writes one sentence in her journal in the morning. And it's a good practice for the journaling part, but the point is, when you start making a small promise to yourself and you keep that promise every day, that builds self-trust back with yourself, and that keeps you connected with yourself. And that's how you start to build and transform and have the ability to start over and make lasting change, just by these small messy steps over big big, huge transformations. You don't have to blow your whole life up. You can just start with one small thing every day.
Mm. Yes, I truly agree, and I think your answer can be a lifeline for listeners who are right on the edge of a new chapter but don't know how to step into it. And also, how do you help women recognize when they have done enough and it's time to just leave?
Um, I think, burnout is exhausting. And I think giving yourself compassion and recognizing that you don't have to perform this identity anymore. And so um being easy on yourself and making decisions from a grounded place. Um the 5 phases that are in my program are used to reconnect with the person that they are now and who they want to become. And it's also to redefine who they want to be and to realign in their habits, in their environment, and learn how to regulate. And all those things combined help you heal without over functioning and not chasing approval. Um, and I think all of those things are all those steps are necessary so that you could recognize that you don't have to perform anymore.
Yeah. And I think like growth doesn't need to be a full-time job that you just said.
Right.
And also, how can someone honor their own evolution without abandoning the people they love or like abandoning themselves?
Yeah, I think that when you're changing and growing, there's a lot of there's a lot of people or experiences you might go through where they don't understand, and that is that's on them. I think that having a conversation with them, depending on the relationship is important. Um, but this is about you. This is about your transformation, and it doesn't have to it doesn't have to be about other people, and just being able to be okay with that. I think it takes a long time to be able to transform that way. But yeah, I think this is a journey where you lean on the people who are like-minded, who are going through the same thing, and be okay with the people who aren't, when your family, your friends, if they're not on that journey too, that's okay.
Yes. I think this is such a beautiful answer. And also, what kind of grief do people often overlook when they step into a new chapter of their life?
Oh, um, grief is a very big part of
Mm,
starting over. You have to when you're letting go of the person that you used to be,
mm,
you know, there's grief with the time that you lost, or grief stripped from the roles that you played, from the identity that you hid behind. And I think all of those things take a lot of time. And um, I think that's the hardest part about starting over or reinventing yourself or making some transformations. I think that's the hardest part.
yes. And I think this answer will definitely help to normalize that growth involves letting go and not just rising. And this is a wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your stories, your experiences with us. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Yeah, they can find me on my website. It's highvibescollective.co. And I'm also on Instagram at Live a Wildly Free Life.
And I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you and know more from you because you are truly a wonderful person. And it's Jazz. Thank you for bringing such honesty and fire to this conversation. And to all my and all my listeners, consider this your reminder that you are not meant to live in perpetual recovery. You are meant to live. If something in today's episode nudged you, let that be the spark. Make one brave move toward the life you have been postponing. Starting over is not a restart, it's a return to your truest self. Thank you.